In five, four.
Shalom. This is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet Good Torah. We have the amazing Rabbi Mordechai Darvish from the Gates of Mordechai. Check out his channel. Help us out. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Notifications. Tell your friends about it. You're going to love it. Really cool today. We're going to talk about Ain Od Milvado. There's only Hashem in the world. Hashem's directing everything. That is why all the events in the world are happening. We're going to take a look. Rabbi Sorotzkin, he's wrote these amazing books called Kates Megula. They're also translated as the End Illuminated. And he really frames all the events happening, all the current events. He frames it in between two things, that the whole Jewish people, the whole world eventually needs to get to Ain Od Milvado, that it's only Hashem. And then there's the forces in the world that believe in kochi va'otzem yadi, like my strength and the strength of my hand. We're going to talk about those forces, and then we're going to talk about our usual suspects. We're going to lay it all out on the table. Who's the Yetzer Hara? Who's the heir of Rav? Who's Edom? Who's the Amalek? Who's Paras? Who's Persia and Yishmael? And then we're heading into Purim. Is there a new Purim, a nuclear Purim genocide story starting to build? We don't know all the players yet, but is it all starting? All right, so let me bring up you got anything you want to say about anything going on, or should I just bring up the pasuk?
Let's get into it.
All right, let's get it on. So first we're going to bring on Ain Od Milvado. We're going to take a look at the pasuk here. Let me see if I can bring it up. And hopefully we are looking at it. And it says here, Hashem says, this is in Devarim. It's in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4. It's verse 35. And it says here, Ata haresa ledas. Like I am showing, this has all been shown to you to know, ledas, to know, ki Hashem hua Elokim. That Hashem, the aspect of the infinite God, the infinite being, when he acts towards mankind with loving kindness, he's acting through the aspect of Hashem, but he is also Elokim. He's also the aspect of this infinite God when he acts towards the world in judgment and din. It's the same God, the God that took us out of Israel. Rabbi Sorotzkin said a beautiful thing about Tisha B'Av. The same God, Hashem, that brought us out of Mitzrayim, that saved us from Egypt, with the 10 plagues. He's the same God that brought us out of Yerushalayim, Chas v'Shalom, when the temple was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, and we were being exiled to Babel, to the Babylonian Empire. It's the same God. It's Hashem hua Elokim and Ain Od Milvado. There's no one else. There's no one. It's only one infinite being. And Rabbi Sorotzkin was saying every one of these current events that's happening, it's to get us to understand Ain Od Milvado. If it's the good that's happening, Chas v'Shalom, if it's the bad that's happening, it's all coming from Hashem. Hashem's the only one. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I love this. This is one of my favorite verses in the Torah. There's two aspects to it. There's like the revealed aspect and the hidden aspect, right? So the revealed aspect is when they stood at Mount Sinai and they got the Torah. So you saw that it was Hashem, it was the infinite God speaking to you and giving you the Torah. You saw it for your own eyes. That's the revealed aspect. The hidden aspect of it is before soul comes down in the world, the Zohar says that it's shown as it appears in this world, right? Like my face, your face, as we look in this world, is shown in front of God. And God says, swear to me 3 things. Swear to me that you'll go to the world and you'll get to know me, you'll believe in me, and you'll keep my Torah. And each soul swears, right, that they will do this, right, under oath. And then they get thrown into the mother's stomach, they learn the whole Torah, and as they're about to come out, they get grabbed by their throats, the back of their necks actually, and they forget everything. But before they do, they get smacked on the lips, and we all have this indentation over here. Some people think that the indentation makes you forget, but the indentation is actually on your lips to make you remember that you swore these 3 things to God, that you're going to come to this world to get to know him. And this verse is actually very indicative of as you were shown, you were shown in front of God that you were going to, and you swore that you were going to come into this world and know that he's the Elohim, he's the one who's doing everything in creation. And Ain Od Milvado, there's nobody else, there's no other actor in creation at all. So every human has this innate trait in them, and they could reveal it. That's what they're supposed to reveal. At the end of the day, they're supposed to reveal this innate trait that they all swore to uphold.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I mean, I love that Gemara, right, where the Malach, the angel, teaches us the whole Torah in our mother's stomach, right? And then the angel hits us there and we forget. But that's a beautiful idea that that's a reminder that we used to know the whole Torah, and it's our job to learn it again. That's really fantastic. All right,
Not
let me
just learn it, so also to get to know God,
yeah.
right? And we swore to it. That's why every human has an indentation over here.
Mm.
Every human made this oath to God that that's what they were going to do in this world.
Okay, so that's the light side of the force, and
That's right.
that's the good guys. But we're gonna bring up our Sith lords. We're gonna look at the bad guys, Chas v'shalom. But what are they trying to get us to believe? So we're gonna see the opposite, the opposite side of it. And let me see if I can bring this up here. So let me see if we got here. So now this is from Devarim, Deuteronomy. It's chapter 8. And I believe it's going to be the 17th. It's verse 17th pasuk. It says here. So we'll talk about this. So v'amarta bilavavecha, and you'll say in your heart, you'll say to yourselves, you'll say in your heart, kochi v'otzem yadi, like it's my strength and it's the power, it's the might of my hand, Asali, that did this for me. Es hachayu azeh, that made me my wealth. Like Chas v'shalom, like Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, he says, I forgot, I think it's in Mishlei, but he was saying that the person is in danger of two things. If a person's very poor, they're in danger of, like, they may want to steal. They may transgress Hashem's commandment not to steal because they're in such a desperate situation. And then the other side of it, which is very scary, is like if someone's very, very wealthy, Chas v'shalom, they feel like they don't need God. They don't need Hashem. They have so much wealth. They feel insulated and secure in this world. And it's a very scary thing. What do you think?
Yeah, you have it with the wealth, but you also have it like wealth and like other means in this world, like health or anything that could be under a person's control that they seemingly think is under their control. It's a ruse, because like what people don't fail to like look into deeper, like if we had microscope for eyes, right, then we would see the atoms and the neutrons, the protons, electrons flying around, right? But we don't have a microscope for eyes. But if we did, we would see them, right? And if we saw them, then we'd see that everything is interconnected and there's like one true power flowing through everything.
Mm.
And because we don't see that, we have physical eyes, and so the zooming out makes us think that it's these actors, right? We don't see the first cause; we see the latest cause, and our minds instantly assume that it's the latest cause that's causing our wealth, our strength, whatever it may be, and really we don't believe that there's an underlying cause, and that underlying cause we know to be is God, the Ein Sof, right? Hashem.
So I'll give people some examples of people that are doing this and how distracting it is to people. Like, so I think, and we're going to talk about our usual suspects soon, but I think like one of the dangers is the whole idea of like secular Zionism is like, oh, we have this mighty, modern army, and it's always our power. Not that Hashem's giving us these miraculous victories in 48 and 67. And I really think that Hashem's beginning to break all that down, where you once had this like fledgling, like, quote unquote Jewish state won these miraculous victories in 48 and 67 and 73 in some ways against like other nations. They weren't fighting internally. They were fighting like very well armed. They were fighting like Egypt when they were a military power. They were fighting Jordan when they were a military power. Iraq when they were a military power. They were fighting Syria, when they were fighting Lebanon, they were fighting, I don't know if they were fighting Lebanon during this war, sorry, but they were fighting these external countries that were established, that were armed to the teeth, a lot of them armed by the Soviet Union. And they had these miraculous victories when they had very little military technology. And now it's so strange, and there's this like secular like arrogance there, and it's so scary. Like now they have far superior military technology and billions and billions of dollars more than Hamas and Hezbollah. And these people are digging like tunnels and using very simple mortars and very simple rockets against rockets, guided missiles that cost like tens of millions of dollars, and like, against like an $80 like Qassam rocket, like, and they're losing. And Chas v'shalom, it's been so discouraging to me to see that they can't rescue the hostages. It's been, I don't even know, it's like over, I think, 140 days at this point. They've only rescued 3 hostages. They want to do another deal where maybe like they'll stop fighting Hamas and free all these terrorists, these murderous terrorists from prison. And where's all the technology and all the satellites and all your vastly superior technology, and you can't rescue anyone? It's so scary. Without Hashem's help, we're like powerless. What do you got to say?
Yeah, so that's the exact point. People are not fine tuning their lens, and they're seeing just the latest cause, and the latest cause is making them believe that they can handle the situation by themselves. But like you said, at the end of the days, the Hashem is going to break that down and reveal to people who want to see, people who are looking to see the truth of things, that they have no other recourse except to turn to their Father in heaven. Because that's when, when the Jews were, they came to the sea before it split, like everywhere around them they were surrounded by wild beasts, and behind them was the power of the army, and they had nobody to turn to, except God. And when they finally turned to God, that's when, the sea split and everything, they were miraculously saved. And that's what God's doing towards the end of the days, breaking down all the recourses that they have, despite like what the eyes may see, because obviously technology and military might and power would overcome trivial foes, and we see that they're not being overcome, and deal making is at the forefront. We see that there's a big breakdown over there.
I mean, right, it's great. And no, we see it too. If America, I mean, America is like really the only superpower, the only true superpower, like the American empire. And it's just bizarre. Like, it's like, right, it's like they're holding back or whatever is going on. I mean, I think the American soldiers have been attacked almost 200 times, if not 200 times. And they do these weak little pinprick, like little nothing attacks back. They're totally on the defensive against the Houthis in Yemen. I mean, you're talking about America, the USA, the USA who defeated the Nazis, the Japanese, they defeated, the Soviet Union, and they're on their toes against the Houthis. It's crazy. It's like the powers of everything is just like breaking down. The institutions are breaking down. Like there's the Justice Department's completely corrupt. The elections are like, you have no faith anymore in the American empire. Like, it's the strongest nation in the world, but yet it's all breaking down. It's like, it's bizarre. It's just,
yeah. I would have more faith in it if it wasn't a complete sabotage job. But you have to assume that something's being sabotaged on purpose over here. Because when you have the might to finish things off and the ability to, and you don't for some reason, either it's complete incompetency or it's pure evil. And I
both.
refuse
And
to
probably
believe,
it could be, but I think it could be.
I refuse to believe it's complete incompetency.
Yeah.
Okay, it has to be something's fishy going on, and they say something's rotten in Denmark. Yeah. I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
But I think it can be both. That's the funny thing. I don't think it has to be an either or. I think you can have great incompetence and great evil at the same time. And then we have to go back. And so I want to bring in our usual suspects, but then we have to go back to then in the end, it's all Ain Od Milvado. It's all Hashem pulling everyone's strings, for a certain purpose, to see that Hashem's the only one. Okay, so let me lay out a deck of cards of all our players, and then we can start breaking this all down more. Okay. We are in the fight of our lives, and it doesn't seem like we are. because we're living, it's very comfortable in the American empire. We can go, you go to the supermarkets, you have food from all over the world. There's no seasons of food. You want a watermelon, you have a watermelon any time of the year. You want corn, it's not just in the summer anymore. I mean, it talks in the Gemara the great wealth of Rebbe Yehuda Hanasi and then Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. And it said like their great wealth was shown that I think they always had like radishes, and as I mentioned, like 3 vegetables. Like they were always on their table no matter what the season. Like the Roman Empire could, import these like I forgot the exact 3 vegetables, but like we have the same thing, and this is not just like the king. This is not like the Nasi, like the prince of the Jewish people, descendant of King David, Rebbe Yehuda Nasi, the Rebbe, and Emperor Marcus Aurelius. This is not the common person walks into the supermarket, goes into Costco. So we're living in all this abundance, even under the inflation, the inflation and Bidenomics and all that craziness, but we have such a material wealth, even the most common person. Okay, but what attack? So we don't feel like we're under attack. Okay, but what is the battle? So everyone is in the great battle, the great war of the Yetzer Hara versus the Yetzer Tov. Everyone, every day, every second of the day, we're in this war. And the Yetzer Tov is telling us to learn Torah and do mitzvos. And the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, the Malach, the angel appointed over evil, is telling everyone and directing everyone, no, folks, atheism, Chas v'shalom, they're saying Hashem's just a fantasy. And no, Avera is not so bad. You should be proud of your Avera. You should have festivals and be proud of your Avera. You should have pride in your Avera. It's not so bad. So all these things of diminishing, like Hashem in the world, going against Ain Od Milvado. So that's our internal battle. The Great War is the internal battle. And the Gemara tells us the only way to fight it is Torah, mitzvos, and gemilas chasadim, acts of kindness. We'll go into it more. Then inside the Jewish people, we have the Erev Rav. We have this group of people that left Egypt with us and have been part of the Jewish people ever since. And they're very, very destructive, very powerful. Like the Vilna Gaon told us, like in the end of days, that the Erev Rav will be the leaders. So these are the leaders. And just to throw out a couple names, I mean, people like Herzl that started, secular Zionism, for Jews to be in Israel and to abandon the Torah and Hashem, Chas v'shalom, what an evil idea. People like George Soros that are, claiming to be Jewish, but are funding these like, anti-Torah, movements and political movements all over the world. Groups like the Rothschilds, rumored to be one of the wealthiest families in the world, but yet have never supported really the yeshivas. And the Rothschilds built the Supreme Court in Israel. So instead of like a Sanhedrin, we have this secular Supreme Court, and they put their symbols on it, the pyramid with the eye on it on the top. So we have this group inside of us, and they're the leaders, and they're in control, and they're like the leaders of the Jewish people. And they're telling everybody, Kochi v'otzem yadi. They're going against Ain Od Milvado. And then we have Edom. We have the empire, the Roman Empire, the empire of Esav, of Yaakov's brother Esav, of Jacob's brother Esau. And the main power of that now is America, USA. And then the powers of Europe, and these are the powers of Edom. And then inside Edom, we have something even more destructive. Like Edom's not destructive enough. Hiding inside Edom is Amalek, the grandson of Asa, and that's who the wicked Haman, as we approach Purim, the wicked Haman that tried to kill all the Jews in the days of the Persian Empire, the days of Mordecai and Esther, with a wicked Amalek. We saw them in the 20th century. They popped up as the Nazis, and the swastika is their symbol of Amalek, and they're hidden in their secret societies, and they're always whispering into the ears of leaders to hate the Jews and kill the Jews. And we have Amalek to deal with. And then we have Paras and Yishmael. We have Yishmael, Ishmael, the brother of Yitzhak, the brother of Isaac, the Arab powers of the world. And then Paras, Persia, Iran, who is now one of the great powers of Yishmael. It's a battle between Paras, between Persia and Saudi Arabia, who controls the Arab world. and we have all this against us. And then internally in Israel, just as there was the 7 Canaanite nations, right? Just as there's the 7 Canaanite nations that were against us, we have the 7 Palestinian terrorist groups, the new 7 nations, the new 31 kings, the new 31 kings of terror inside. So all that's going on. All right, that's the usual suspects. Where do you want to start? What do you want to jump into first?
I mean, I think they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
We can take each one at a time, but the thing is the cosmic battle is between good and evil, and it's the Satan versus holiness, right? Satan versus holiness. And we see it in pop culture nowadays, Satanism, and like it's in music, it's in the movies, it's everywhere. And this kind of stuff was only like reserved for wackadoos, when we were growing up. But now you see it coming to the forefront because that's what's really been the hidden agenda at all times. And basically, it's just to stop us from doing our cosmic mission, which is bringing God's light into the world and making Ain Od Milvado known amongst us and amongst people of the world. And we have other people that are trying to stop us. They're basically the agents of the Satan. Anybody who's trying to stop holiness, which is the Jewish people, is the agent of the Satan, whether it be quote unquote from our own people, which are the Erev Rav, within us. And it seems like, they're not so distant. They're close to us. The Satan is really our closest, our foe. He's in our hearts and he's our bloodstream and he's everywhere. But the next closest is the Jewish people amongst us who don't keep the ways of holiness. And you spread out a little further, you get to, you said Edom and Amalek, right? And that's the Christian denomination of the world that has persecuted us and kept us down. Even today, like you said, America, they control the strings. They're paying both sides of the war, and what's really going on? Are they really our friends? Are they really our enemies? Are they trying to bring us down secretly, or what's going on? And then finally, you have the ones that are distant, but they're somehow more connected to God, and which is the Ishmaelites, the Islamic population of the world. They're albeit doing everything in the name of God, but again, they're trying to stop the forces of holiness, which is the Jewish people, God, and the Torah.
Yeah, no, so right, it's interesting. Like it seems like I think on the surface, most Jewish people maybe would be more worried about like the terrorist attacks from Ishmael right now, like physically getting killed. But what's
right. So again, remember we said like the people are seeing the closest cause.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're blaming the latest cause, the latest thing that's closest to them. They're not seeing the first cause. They're not seeing like behind the scenes, behind the veils. And you're right. Yeah, that's who they're blaming. They're blaming the latest latest issue.
But what I was going to go back to is, but I think, but what's interesting is our Masorah is that Mashiach ben Yosef comes first, and he fights against the spiritual corruption of Edom first. And then Mashiach ben David comes second and fights against the physical threat from Ishmael second, which is really fascinating because in the Shemona Esrei, like the prayer we say every day about like the ingathering of the exiles, hidden in that is like a secret thing where it's like that's like deals with like the period of Shovavim we just left, and like the issue of like Shomer Bris, where like what strengthens the Jewish people is like if we can resist the physical temptations around us, the Jewish people become very, very powerful. So like Pinchas, when he saw that the prince of the tribe of Shimon, like Zimri, was going to engage in like physical immorality right in front of the Mishkan itself with ironically a princess of Moab named Cosby. Talk about power and names, like no one ever imagined like Cosby would be involved in physical immorality, but that was her name. It's interesting.
Wow.
It's interesting, right? But like people are watching this, like in front of the holiest place in the Midbar in the desert, those 40 years, and this prince of a tribe wanted to have relations with this Moabite princess right in front of the Mishkan in the holiest place in the camp. And Pentecost came, and he killed them, and he was given the bris of Shalom. So why the bris again? It's the bris, it's Shomer bris. When we can protect ourselves from, this physical immorality, the Jewish people are very strong. And then Edom really, and the Satan, who's the Sar of Edom, the Satan, who's the ministering angel of the nation, of the empire of Edom, right? What does the Satan want to do? What does the Yetzer Hara want to do? Is the Yetzer Hara wants, people to watch, like, watch the movies with the, beyond the PG ratings. Like PG is bad enough, but no, go into the higher ratings. They call it MA nowadays, mature audience. But it's like anything goes, right? Anything goes in MA. It's like the old days, it was like X and triple X, I think, it's like the bad stuff. But now it's all nice, like cozy. No, it's just MA. It's just MA. Anything can happen in there, but it's just MA. It's like, I don't know. I don't know, like really, like, the NC-17. I know, but all these, but that's what they're trying to do. And, it's like the music and the movies and the TV shows and even the news. It's like very strange. Like you used to have like, way back before my time, you had a Walter Cronkite, and then, my days is like Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw. Now you have like these, very pretty women, and they're not always dressed so, like so modestly. And that's who's like giving the news. So it's like, it's coming from all
Well,
angles.
it's become
Yeah, yeah,
entertainment because like the
yeah, yeah,
news is an industry that they have to sell advertising. And they got
yeah,
to keep you got to get the eyeballs. It's not about informing, as
right.
we've been led to believe. It's about entertaining and keeping the eyeballs there so they can sell advertising and make money.
Right. So I know. So I mean, ancient Rome always kept like the citizens like occupied and preoccupied with the bread and circuses. The bread mean people couldn't afford, like the modern day food stamps. It's like the bread was like people can't afford bread, very cheap bread, so people would have something to eat. And then the circuses is all the entertainment. In the old ancient Rome, they had the Constitution, they had the gladiators, that actually kill each other for people's entertainment. They would have, different events in the Colosseum, they're fighting the animals. And nowadays, all that violence is it's simulated in movies, and then some of it's not simulated. You have things like MMA, boxing. You have people like beating themselves like senseless for people's entertainment. Very, very violent sport. Sports. Like the drama, the sports. So it's like nothing's changed. Nothing new is under the sun. Keeping everyone distracted. The Yetzer Hara wants to keep everyone distracted, but yet we're facing a growing threat. We're heading into Purim. We just had Shushan Purim Katan on Shabbos. And like I said, in the ancient days, like Haman, Harasha, Haman, who was the descendant of Amalek, the ancient Nazi, he wanted to kill all the Jews. And he paid Achashverosh, who was the king of the Persian Empire, he paid him 10,000 silver talents. All right, so what is that in modern day equivalent? It's 24 million ounces of silver. Okay, and as you told me, we looked it up. The price is, I think it's $23.16 per ounce of silver. So it'd be like $555,840,000. He paid him $500 million, a little over $500 million, right? To kill all the Jews. And it says in the Gemara that Achashverosh, like, the two of them, like Haman paying Achashverosh money to kill all the Jews, it was like one man that had a pile of dirt in his field, and one man had a hole in his field. And the man with the dirt is like, I'll pay you $500 million to let me take my dirt and fill up the hole in your field that you want to hold. They both wanted to kill all the Jews. They both wanted to kill all the Jews. And Hashem completely uprooted their plans. Hashem showed it was Ain Od Milvado. He actually has Achashverosh kill Vashti. Vashti, who is the granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar. Vashti, who's the granddaughter of the king that destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, destroyed the temple in Jerusalem. And Hashem arranges it so then Achashverosh kills Vashti. And then who's going to be her replacement? Brings in the amazing Sedekis, Esther Amalka, Queen Esther. And then all the events take place. And Mordecai, gets the whole Jewish people to do teshuvah, to fast, to wear sackcloth, to put ashes on our heads, and we want to do teshuvah. And now we see a note. We just got our 10-minute warning. Right, so we see a new genocide in Persia growing, but this is going to be like a nuclear like a nuclear genocide. And they were trying to encourage a global jihad after, October the 7th. Iran wanted a global jihad around the world of all the Jews. So it's growing. Like the new Achashverosh, maybe Ayatollah Khamenei. We don't know all the rest of the players, but it's very scary where Haman paid $500 million to kill all the Jews. We saw President Biden send tens of billions of dollars to Iran, and he knows full well what Iran was going to do with that money. They were going to finance Hamas. They were going to finance Hezbollah. That money's in their bank. They had, I read an article today, they had like 5 or 6 billion in reserves. They now have 100 billion in reserves. Iran has all the money they need to kill all the Jews, right? Everything's been paid by Edom, by America and Europe. If we think that, we're all safe here and the Democrats and the Republicans are riding in to save us and we don't need Hashem chas v'shalom, if we think that that Biden's going to save us or Trump's going to save us, it's really, we're living in an illusion. We're living in an illusion. Now, granted, Trump did some nice things, the moving of the embassy, declaring the Golan Heights part of Israel. I mean, it seemed good, but I just I don't buy the people that are saying that he's the modern day Koresh, that he's the modern day Cyrus that's going to rebuild the temple. I don't see it, and it's only Hashem that's going to save us from this. What's your impression? Oh, we may have lost our guest. Are you still with us? Okay, I don't know. So I think we may wrap it up here. We may do a part 2 soon, but we got all the players of the usual suspects. We got Purim coming up. So we have the time of year where Hashem can completely flip it on its head. And instead of Iran destroying us, we can destroy Iran, and we can see a great salvation. But it's like the Jewish people need to do Sheshuvah. We need to get to the Ain Od Milvado. I think we'll stop here, and we'll B'ezrat Hashem, we'll do another one soon. And it's good to see you. So everybody, if you like it, subscribe, like, share, sweet and good Torah, and the gates of Mordechai, and we'll see you back soon. All right, all the best.